Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Lighthouse sessions. I'm excited. Today I have my new friend, Jenna Nelson, with us. Jenna, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Jenna Nelson. I'm the founder of Her AI Agency, and specifically, I'm an AI strategist and implementation expert. And primarily, my audience, I lean into women-founded, women-led businesses, but that's not entirely exclusionary. But there's a little bit of a gender gap in AI. There's not a lot of women kind of standing up and raising their hands. And as a woman, we often like to work with other women. So I've kind of just fallen into, that kind of niche because it feels a little underrepresented. And more than anything, I think that women potentially have more to benefit from AI because we're already dealing with, wage gaps and time gaps and trying to do it all. So I think that if anybody has anything to get out of AI, women, particularly women business owners, are right up there at the top of the list.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy to tell you, I know a lot of female entrepreneurs who are using AI. So
Great.
I'll make sure you guys connect because the reality is, again, it's helping others. And when you find your tribe, it just makes it easier. And
absolutely.
It's funny, but as AI evolves, I'm learning more and more the nuances. And again, this sounds really weird, but science tells us men and women are the same creature with different plumbing, and it's like, no, there's different wiring.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's just sheer coincidence we have 5 fingers, 5 toes. So
absolutely.
But what I'm finding is with AI, I'm exploring the differences, and there's differences in how women work together, how they think, how they cooperate.
Absolutely.
And again, I'm equal rights to everybody. Some of half of my favorite people are women. So so let's talk about you and the world you're in. So let's start with the fun question. How did you get into AI? And I love this because, we're all on even field because most people met AI when ChatGPT went viral. So
yeah. And I kind of did too, honestly. Had no intention. If you told me 4 years ago that I'd be an AI strategist, I would have looked at you like you were crazy. Truly had no expectation of landing here. But when ChatGPT first came out, I remember very specifically Googling, what is ChatGPT? And just kind of diving in and being like, what is this? Let me play with it. I've always been kind of an early adopter in, the newest, technology, the newest methods. I was running a digital marketing consultancy, and part of what I did was always like trying to be at the next phase of evolution of that, not just doing the same thing year after year because everything changes so quickly. So obviously, I wanted to get my hands in it, and I did. And very quickly, I experimented with it, in my own world, in my own business, and how can I use this in both my personal life and in my business. I truly use ChatGPT for absolutely everything at this point in my life, both personal, business, all of it. It's my primary search engine. I have moved far away from Googling things. I'm using ChatGPT almost exclusively now because I prefer that output. And so I truly just, started incorporating it into what I was doing, and so quickly was like, oh my gosh, this is the future. This is so incredible. This is going to enable us to do so much more. And so slowly started kind of with my existing clients incorporating it, and saw the immediate benefit of how much I could up level what I was already doing for them from a digital marketing perspective with AI. And so about a year and a half ago, just kind of doubled down and said, all right, this is going to be, an AI agency. We're going to, do things ethically. We're going to do it smart, but we are going to incorporate AI into everything that we do because the results are going to be so much better than if I was just doing everything manually. And at the end of the day, I'm here to get results for my clients.
I love that. And I love the journey because like you, I looked at ChatGPT and I'll be honest, the first 6 months I was meh. Because I mean, it was a good circus trick. You know, it was a good party trick.
Sure.
And then when it started to evolve, I was like, I need to be on this bus or I'm going to get run over by it. So
yep, absolutely. Well, in the evolution, I mean, when we first adapted ChatGPT, obviously, while it was useful and helpful, we are miles and light years away now with 5.2 being the current model as of today from where we started, you know, and it's changed so much. It's evolving so rapidly and so fast. And it's just incredible. Just the change I've seen within that platform in itself since, you know, 2022 to now.
I love it. Now I have to ask the difficult question.
Sure.
I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask, what's your favorite generative AI or AI in general, and why?
Yeah, it's absolutely ChatGPT. I have played with them all. I work in them all for various testing reasons. But I have tested and played with every one of them, and in my opinion, it performs the best. But that being said, the best AI is the one that you adopt and you learn and you train. It does not, honestly, like I'm a ChatGPT purist and that's what I would recommend. But if you love Claude, use Claude, but train it, use it, and then don't deviate from it unless you're, you know, like me and you're wanting to test every platform. But if you're just using it for your daily workflows, pick one and stay in that lane, because that's going to be what's going to perform best for you as opposed to, you know, platform hopping.
I love that. And, you know, it's funny because I teach people how to use ChatGPT. And for whatever reason, people show up to my courses going, well, I thought we talk about Claude or Gemini. Yeah. And then they get mad at me because I'm being elitist and exclusive. And I'm like, I'm going to let you know something. Yeah. I've spent 3 years training ChatGPT, and it spent 3 years training me.
Absolutely.
Together, we are unstoppable.
Yes.
You want to watch me muck around in Claude? Good for you, but why?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. My ChatGPT has so much history and memories at this point. It is my entire second brain, and you know, it is my go-to for everything, for sure.
I love that. And, you know, it's funny because one of the things ChatGPT and I talk a lot about is building the second brain. Mm-hmm. And based on Tiago Forte's work, I love that. I'm also obsessed with, I think it's a German word. It's called Zettelkasten. And basically it's a way of taking notes and organizing them. It's very digital because back in the day, the guy had little note cards, and on it, one card had one idea, and then he'd link them. The man had thousands of these things. But the problem with that is it was a manual system and you got to find things. But I've been building my custom GPTs and my regular GPT using that concept. So I don't have to keep chasing the same idea 1,000 times.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, the importance of training your AI tool cannot be understated. If you are just, you know, trying to use free, straight out of the box ChatGPT every once in a while, you know, it's going to help you. It's not the same as treating it like a second brain or an executive assistant or however you want to look at it. I teach my clients, it's like, this is as important as your next hire. We are going to train it and treat it the same as a human employee, and teach it and reinforce that learning and tell it when it's wrong, tell it what we do differently in the exact same way. It is just like an employee that you don't need to provide health insurance for or let take breaks or PTO or anything like that. It's great.
Never complains when you ask it the same question 5 times.
No, it doesn't. No.
Now, there's something I want to come back to because I'm obsessed with workflows, and I get the feeling you might be too.
Yep.
One of the things I found early on was when I was dabbling, all of my AI activities existed outside of my workflow. So it was a choice of am I working or am I dabbling?
Yeah.
And now I've built everything around. I have an amazing workflow, and people say, "Oh, you should try this other tool." And I'm like, nope. Yeah. Again, I recognize one software as a dependency could be a single point of failure, but if my workflow ever collapses because ChatGPT decides they're not going to serve the public,
right.
I'll find something else. But in the meantime, I'm working in my workflow.
Yep.
I'm assuming you've integrated ChatGPT so that it's a seamless part of the team. Is that fair?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, all of our SOPs are, ChatGPT dependent, essentially. It's, we've got, specific custom GPTs and threads for very, specific use cases. And I build a lot in MindPal as well, which can use the ChatGPT model. And I'll create, specific workflows with MindPal using the OpenAI platform. But yeah, it is an integral part of everything we do. And I almost don't want to do something without it because I want ChatGPT to have that sort of context of what I've done and why I've done it and how I got there, because that's part of the training. I truly treat it like a collaborative tool. So yes, it is a part of literally everything I do. I can't honestly think of anything I've done recently where I didn't involve it in some way.
Well, and I can't think of why I'd want to either.
Right. Agreed. It's always, and I tell people that a lot. I'm like, you don't have to take exactly what it spits out for you, but use it like a collaboration tool. Use it to brainstorm. It often comes up with angles I wouldn't have thought of or that I might not have considered, and vice versa. Then sometimes it'll spit out an angle and I'll say, I'd rather do it this way. This is my thought process. And we'll go back and forth that way. And it truly, I think it gives me more capacity to do more because I'm not just relying on my own brain. I'm also getting, a little bit of, it's like immediate feedback on everything I think, which is great.
Well, the way I put it, on my best day, I can handle 10 different angles to one problem or idea or solution. ChatGPT brings me millions. Why would I want it just my 10?
Absolutely. Yeah. I use it to fact check myself. I use it to, it's great for eliminating decision fatigue. I used to be one of those people that I would come up with an idea and I'd sit for days, months, years, whatever, thinking through it and does this make sense? And now, I can shorten that timeline, that kind of go to market timeline, because I'll go back and forth with ChatGPT, like, help me evaluate the risks of this. What am I missing? Is there a market for this? So that decision fatigue has really been eliminated for me. And I have more than enough real life daily decisions to worry about, what I'm feeding my children for dinner and things like that, that I don't need to make everything so hard. And ChatGPT really helps with that.
I love it. Now, there's a word you use, and it's my favorite word. So I'm going to go back. You said you're an AI strategist. And hold on to that, because somebody on LinkedIn the other day went on a rant about if you meet somebody who calls themselves an AI strategist, run. And I promptly blocked them because I'm like, I don't want to know people who are all about tactics and don't think strategy. So
absolutely.
Let's talk about being an AI strategist. And I'm going to share I'm paraphrasing Sun Tzu, but basically strategy without tactics is the slowest path to victory. But tactics without strategy, I call it the noise before defeat.
Absolutely. Yeah. Strategy has to come first. That is, the key part of everything that I do. And, a big part of what I consider AI strategy is when to use it, where to use it, and where not to use it. There are absolutely cases with clients where I'm like, you know what, let's keep AI out of that for right now. Maybe we'll come back to it. Yeah. Maybe in 2 years, voice AI is one of them. It's come a long way. It's as bad now as it's ever going to be, but I'm not 1,000% sold on voice AI for really high touch businesses. It's fine for scheduling a plumbing appointment or something like that. But, for legal intake, for medical intake, I'm not quite there yet. But that doesn't mean in a year it won't be there. It's just not right now. So a lot of that strategy is coming back to, you know what, I don't think we have the right model, the right tools right now. Let's table that. But this workflow, this content creation, this is absolutely a candidate for AI. Let's start there. So I always tell people, I'm like, you don't have to jump in with both feet right away. Yeah. Pick one thing that's slowing you down, that's manual, that's repetitive, that is keeping you, working late at night when you shouldn't be. And let's fix that with AI. And then once you see the benefit and the value of that, then I'll start, moving you a little down the path into the bigger impact things. But pick one thing and integrate it and see how much it changes things for you. And I've never had anybody be like, I don't like the way AI is helping me. That has yet to happen when done right, anyway.
When done right. And the irony is I get a lot of people, they want to jump in full force, both feet in. And I'm like, no. Dip your toes in, because it becomes a waste of time if you're just busy playing with it. But if you've got something tedious and time consuming, absolutely.
Yep. I love those people that come to me that want to jump in with both feet. I've had a couple of people that are like, I want all the AI in my business. Like, what could we do? And I'm like, I love it. I don't have to start with like easing you in. We can just like go for it and do it. So I love those people, but I agree with you. It's, if you're just playing with it and not that there's anything wrong with that. I do it all the time. But it's not as effective as having a structured plan and strategizing about how to really implement it in the right way.
Well, and I think that's the key. Like I end up, I feel like a lifeguard sometimes, because I'm rescuing the ones who jumped in and didn't know how to swim. And it's like, whoa.
Oh, absolutely. There's
come down to the kiddie pool and
there's a lot of that. Yes, absolutely. Yep.
I love it. Now, we were talking before we hit record about the fear and the dangers of AI. So let's be clear. What are some of the big fears you're still hearing, or what are people saying that about AI that you kind of wish what they knew it wasn't true, but you have to deal with it? What are some of the big objections you hear?
Oh gosh, there's so many. Obviously, the first one is, there's a huge, number of people that, like we talked about, that have the Terminator style fear of like, this is coming to take over. It's going to overwrite what I do. It's going to take over my business. That one, it's really not true. That's not what this is. It doesn't think for itself. It's not going to erase everything you've already done. It's definitely not coming to steal your children or, whatever. So, just that entry level fear, I always want to, I get it. I totally do get it, but it's a bit irrational. It's not as scary as maybe some sci-fi movies may have made it sound. So that's certainly one bucket. The other one I hear often and that I combat is, well, it's not going to sound like me. It's not going to know my brand. It's not going to, and to that, it will if you train it that way. You're right. If you use free chat GPT, a new thread every time, you're right. You're never going to get on brand content. You're not going to get it to remember your services, your offers, your brand tone. But if you train it that way, it can be a second brain. It can be a complete clone of your brain if you want it to. And so that brand fear is a lot. I manage that one a lot. And I think the third big bucket is my audience will not like it if I use AI. They will not read my emails. They're not going to follow me on social anymore. They're going to go somewhere else because I'm using AI. And that's where that strategy comes into play, because you're right. There are places we don't want to use it. But there are places that your audience will not care. And that's different for every business. But for instance, I remember talking to a chiropractor about this. And I was like, look, if I'm coming to a chiropractor, I don't care if the reminder emails or the reminder texts you sent me were AI generated. That does not matter to me about my chiropractor. What matters to me is when I get to the office and I have that time with the chiropractor, they're, focusing on, what I'm there for. And if you as a chiropractor were using AI to do those manual repetitive tasks, and that gives you more time to spend with me as a client and be hands-on, then that's a win for me. That's not a problem. And I think anybody that's like offended by having gotten an AI text reminder for a really specialized service like that, I'm like, but why? That gave them brain space and time to do what they do and what they can only do as a human. So it's about incorporating it in the right ways, finding ways that are not going to alienate your audience. And then beyond that, I tell people all of the time, they're like, well, AI generated content, nobody will trust it. Nobody will follow it. And I'm like, that's not true when it's trained right and used right. And more importantly, it takes so much content in 2026 to stay relevant, to be visible online. It takes so much content. And that's not practical if you're trying to run a business, if you're trying to be an attorney, if you're trying to be a chiropractor, if you're trying to be a consultant. So that content that we can essentially use AI to help facilitate, that's hopefully just amplifying your message. It's allowing you to get in front of more people because you can do it faster. You can do more of it. It's not about diluting your brand. It's not about I never want you to only put up AI generated content. But there are ways to use it that help that process along. So I think those are the three that I feel like I combat the most.
Interesting point. When I look at all three of them, the common thread is if they don't know how to use it, why are they using it? And by the way, when somebody says AI is garbage or I hate ChatGPT, it tells me a lot about them. So between you and me, I used to battle the people who go, oh, M dashes are a sign of AI. So I started pasting M dashes into everything I wrote, even the stuff I wrote.
Right. I naturally wrote with M dashes my entire life. I've handwritten things and I'm like, I realize that it's got an M dash in it, but I wrote it that way. But with the most recent model, we finally overcome the Chat GPT M dash obsession. So maybe we can just overcome that. Let that one go. Yeah, maybe we're past that.
The funny thing is, I built a custom GPT to put it back in.
That's hilarious. I love that.
Because it's like, and again, I play with people who don't know what they don't know and who criticize something. And so, but the big thing is when people say, oh, AI content is garbage, it's like, yes, it is when you don't know how to use AI. But when you learn how to use it, and I recommend people find experts like yourself, because it only took me 3 years and about 10,000 hours of practice to get to the point where I now want to put M dashes back in. So
I love it.
It's faster to work with a pro. Now, we talked about workflows, and you alluded to something that I'm obsessed with. Let's talk about custom GPTs.
Yeah.
So I view them as a tool to enhance a human who knows what they're doing 100%. So that they can judge the quality of the output. How does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think custom GPTs are great for very specialized use cases. And that's evolved a lot. 2 years ago, I felt like you needed a custom GPT for everything, essentially, because the memory wasn't there. It wasn't pulling from different threads. It wasn't, there wasn't that account level memory that there is now. So I've backed off some of my custom GPT building because the memory has gotten so much better. But yeah, I have custom GPTs, for every client. That's one of the core things I do is I build them an AI brand manager, and that custom GPT knows everything about their business, their pricing, their offers, their what their brand colors are. I teach it what all the links are in their website, so that when it's writing content, they don't have to go and pull a link for their PDF. It already knows, it already puts it in. And so that becomes the central source of knowledge for their business, is that custom GPT brand manager. And then from there, then I will spin it off into, maybe a social media custom GPT that, uses my personal best practices for social media, that also takes into account their audience and the type of content that's going to resonate. So I think that they are incredibly powerful tools if you know how to train one. And honestly, they're not as hard as it sounds. You can train a custom GPT in 15 minutes if you know what you're doing. But obviously, the more time you spend on it, the more refined you make it, the better the output. So, for me, for my clients, these are several hour builds, but I think there's a fear that that's a huge, hard thing to do. And it's no, you can build one in 15 minutes if you want to. It's not that hard. Yeah.
Well, what I realized, so I'm going to let you into my brain a little. I did a 90-minute workshop teaching people how to build ChatGPT, custom GPTs.
Well,
one showed up wanting to know how to apply that to Claude. One wanted to use it with Gemini. The rest of the group didn't know what a system was.
Oh boy.
And I went, oh my God. So Pivot, we had to teach them what a system is. And then Pivot, they didn't know what an ideal client was. And I'm like, oh my God. It was a very disastrous workshop because despite me having put all of the prerequisites, people went, free webinar, let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's a big part of my training. My background is in brand strategy. And so what I found early on when I was going to help clients, create these brand managers, is there were big holes in their brand strategy that they couldn't, things I needed to train that ChatGPT, they didn't know yet. They'd never thought about. They didn't know.
Never heard of it.
Had never thought about what are my customers' pain points? What are, what are the top 5 questions I get asked all the time? So a big part of my process now is I do a really deep, 60 to 90 minute founder interview with them, where I hit them with all of those brand strategy questions. And it helps me train their model, but also I think they get a lot of clarity out of it, because it's oh, I've never thought about what is my ideal client? What does that avatar look like? What is my brand voice? What is the tone? Do I like M dashes? Do I like emojis? Do I not?
Am I serious? Am I funny?
Right. That founder intake process is, I think everybody tells, they're I got so much value out of just a dedicated hour sitting down and thinking through this stuff with you that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And now I have this great like tool at my disposal that knows all of that too. So it's such an effective process, in my opinion.
I'm not kidding, but at one point I used quiz. It was, I can't remember who the quiz was from, but it was, which Disney princess are you like? But you know, I'm going to share something because you sound very similar to me. When I started, I could build a custom GPT in 15 minutes, like you said.
Yeah.
And it just came naturally to me. And I mistakenly believed that was the product I delivered. And then I struggled with, how do I price this? And then I went, wait a minute, it's that hour where I'm poking and prodding and, you know, I'm diagnosing them. That's the real value. And
Absolutely.
I went, oh my God, I'm, you know, giving away the insight and selling the end result. And I was like,
absolutely,
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that the data you get to train it is just as important. And I agree. There's a huge consultative strategic portion that happens before you ever go into Chat GPT and start training that model. That's if it's done right for you, that's what somebody is doing on the front end for you.
Now, I love that you do the branding, because I have a friend who's a branding expert who assures me that ChatGPT sucks. And I'm like, I'm going to let you believe that.
Yeah.
One of my weird things, and I hope this resonates, I build a custom GPT for the voice of the customer. So whatever avatars, and by the way, I used to say avatars, now I make my people pick their favorite. I'm being mean because strategy helps. But what I do is I create the voice of the customer, and I do a deep dive on the research. I have them interview existing clients. But basically what it does is it's there to give feedback on everything I create.
That's a really, I love that. I have not, we bake in the customer pain points, but I haven't done it separately, but that's a really interesting way. So then you take like the content and you run it through that custom. That's a really, I like that method a lot. That's really interesting.
And by the way, I used to do it with all-in-one, but one of the things I realized was that the more things, anytime I had and or in the functionality, it was diluted a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I have one, my avatar, his name is Alex Rivers, and you know, he's really, really fun to hang out with. But he'll say things, and by the way, I also trained him. I'm autistic, so I can be incredibly blunt.
Right.
He's trained to be autistic and incredibly blunt.
Cool.
A few people have tried to work with him and he makes them cry. And I'm like, no. Alex is my friend, not yours.
Right.
But the key is he's not sugarcoating anything. And he'll say, I love this. I don't know why you did that. And I really hate that. Make it go away. And it is amazing.
Yeah. I love that. And and you have to find, I do that with AI brand managers too. It's like every client is different and how they're going to interact with their custom GPT. And so I take that into account, right? Like I have some people that can hear super blunt feedback. They don't need it to say, that's a great idea, but they just want it, to spit it out. And I'm like that. I can handle that kind of feedback, but not everybody can. And so I take that client personality into account, and, make sure that it's going to respond in a way that's going to be helpful to them. And yes, not make them cry. That's never my goal, unless they want that. I mean, sometimes I tell my, custom, be ruthless, like tell me everything that's wrong with this, poke all the holes at it that you can. And, I like that feedback, but not everybody does.
I also built one, by the way, my wife thinks I'm crazy because I have about 400 custom GPTs and they're all specialists at one thing. But I have one, it's called the Devil's Advocate, and his job is to poke and find blind spots. And again, and I just sit here, I'll have 10 tabs open and I'm copying and pasting back and forth and I'm watching them argue, and it's fascinating.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
So when people tell me they don't like Chat GPT or AI in general, it tells me a lot about how they think. And this might sound a little weird, but my big observation is if you tell me which LLM you prefer, I know a lot about your personality right out of the gate.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
It fascinates me, and I can't quite explain it. And I'm sure there's some psychiatrist out there that's going to want to commit me for this, but I can actually see the differences in the way people think. And ChatGPT tends to reward curiosity, communication clarity, and anybody I know
Data.
who's a system thinker seems to live in ChatGPT.
Agreed. I find it very data driven, and it's strategic. It's, that's, you're right. Like, I think your innovators, your strategists do very well, and you're technical also on ChatGPT. Claude, I think, is great for storytelling, for people that like, to write more verbose and give, stories and personal anecdotes. I think Claude does, a great job with that. It's maybe a better copywriter if you're looking for storytelling.
If I may, I'm going to challenge that because I've heard it a lot lately.
Yeah.
But I built a custom GPT, and J.K. Rowling, famously of the Harry Potter series, her writing style and her methodology is very well known. She teaches it all over the place. So I have a custom GPT that writes like J.K. Rowling.
Cool.
And it is amazing, but it is fascinating because a lot of people tell me it's better for prose, but it's personality driven, really, is the answer.
It is. Well, and you've trained it that way too. Like, I'm talking in generalizations, like, Claude right out of the box. So
fresh out of the box.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. My daughter is absolutely Taylor Swift obsessed. So I have trained a GPT that writes entirely in like Taylor Swift kind of storytelling song lyric style for her. She loves it. So yeah, you could absolutely kind of train it to pick up those things that you admire, those, maybe it's methods or frameworks that you really like, and you can really leverage that talent without having it yourself, which is huge.
Well, I love this. And honestly, Jen, I could talk to you all day because I think you and I have very similar philosophies.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask a couple of really hard questions. So number one, somebody's listening to this. Where can they find you? And who would be looking to find you? Who should reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my website, Her AI Agency, is probably, your entry point. I also have a YouTube channel, and I do a lot of trainings and kind of short, bite-sized, helpful things. So I think YouTube is another good reference point. I'm easy to find. I'm easy to reach personally. But in terms of people, I would say, any female entrepreneur who is either AI curious. I think I love, like, hey, I don't know anything, but what could, my business look like with some AI integrated? I love to talk to those types of people. And then I also like any, female entrepreneur who feels overwhelmed, who feels like I need to hire more help, but I maybe don't have the capital to support, hiring a marketing director or something like that. Let me see what holes I can plug with AI before you inflate your payroll or before you are burning out. I love to get people before the burnout stage or at the burnout stage, because I'm like, hold on, let's see what we can take off your plate. So I think those are my two like really great entry points, is like overwhelmed, know they need help, or like curious, what could this look like? And and I'm always happy to take the kind of naysayers too, that are like, I don't ever want to touch AI, I don't want it in my business, because if you are willing to let me explain to you why that's not going to work. One of the things I say all the time is you may feel okay right now not integrating AI in your business. It may be working for you right now and it may feel okay. It is not going to feel okay in 2 years. Your competitors are going to outpace you so fast if you don't adapt. It is coming for your business, whether you like it or not. And the early adopter, like right now is your moment to get ahead. In probably 6 months from now, you're not going to be ahead anymore. You're going to start lagging behind. So now is that opportune moment, I think. So I love to try to talk people out of their bad AI opinions also.
I've given up on those people, so you can have them.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Somebody's got to do it, so thank you.
Agreed. I will do it for as long as I can stomach it, I guess.
I call it missionary work, and I've already spent my time out in the wilds trying to convert people, and now I'm building the fort, and it's like, if you want to use AI, come in where it's safe.
Right.
So I think we all go through that. We're like, oh, you guys got to try this. Now it's like, do it, don't do it. I'm okay either way. But when you're ready, the lights are on, knock on the door.
Right. And and if you don't want to do it in 2 years, when you realize I was right, like, we'll talk again,
Exactly.
come back and we'll talk again.
I love it. Well, I'm going to ask one final question, then I will wrap up.
Yeah.
You mentioned that 4 years ago, if somebody told you were doing this, you'd think they were crazy.
Yes.
What do you wish you knew at the beginning that you earned through all of your experimentation? What would be one thing you'd go back in time and tell younger Jenna so that you could get here faster?
I've had to, as time has gone on, I've had to kind of put horse blinders on, because there is a new tool every 30 seconds, right? And because of what I do, I love to play with them. I love to experiment with them. And I think that's important because clients ask me about them and I want to know what's new and fresh. But I've made it a personal point to, like, I pick a day each month where that's my day to, like, play with new stuff, whatever. I'm not going after it the minute it comes out. I'm not. So I think pick my lane, which is, training and implementing, custom AI solutions. Pick my lane, pick my platform, and stay in it, as opposed to trying to learn it all. It is too big of a field. It is developing too rapidly for me to keep up all day, every day. I'd love to know exactly what's changed in AI every single day. And I try to, but there's a lot. So if I could go back, I would say pick one and run with it. And when there's time, when you've got downtime once a month, play with the others. But I spent a lot of time early on testing and playing with all the different platforms and spreading myself too thin across too many tools. And now I've got kind of a core set of tools that I believe in and I've trained, and those are the ones I put out to my clients. And so I wish I could go back and maybe get to that point a little faster. But there was learning in that journey too. So I'm not too mad about it.
That's the thing. I would go back and give myself advice, but I'd hope I wouldn't fully listen to it either.
Right.
Because it's not just the short, and by the way, your advice applies to every founder. Pick a lane, pick a focus, succeed at one thing and then build the next.
Yes. Absolutely.
I love it. Well, thank you for being on the show with me today, Jenna. It was a real pleasure.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.